think we can start now, right? Yeah, so this discussion is about the Web 3.0 and the Metaverse. So I'll just introduce myself. My journey of Metaverse started right in 2017 when I founded a company which is Immersive Computing Labs, which was in the AR/VR space. At that time, we did not use Metaverse at all. So at that time, the company was founded, and it was mainly into making the solutions, like how fast and how easy you can make solutions for the education and enterprise. So I have seen that journey for a pretty long time. Right? So I have seen how it evolved. Things with my panel here, immediate panel here, and the first thing that we are going to discuss is how do we get a hang of all these terms, these different terms, and how does it fit into the overall picture of Metaverse? Basically, what is Metaverse and what is Web 3.0? Right? If we can clearly establish a difference or definition of these two terms, that's the best way to start. So maybe we can start from that side. So, Ankit, how do you define this Metaverse and the evolution of these terms, like technological terms, VR, AR, XR? How do you see all these things?
Thanks, Manish. I think I thought about this some time back. I think when we were also working on various technologies, the way all these technologies like VR, AR, blockchain is evolving. What I felt is the way to actually talk about is the evolution of the human race, right? The way it is completely changing the interaction of people, right, in their real world. And the way, say, physical and virtual world is becoming, the boundaries are getting blurred, right? So, basis various technologies, various, I would say, confluence of various technologies, it is becoming very, very blurred the way you interact in the physical world versus digital world. And these technologies will completely evolve in future and change the way we look at things and work together in this real world. That's how I would define this entire space of Metaverse in a simplistic way.
Good morning, everyone. So what I felt about Metaverse is that it's a journey that we have already begun, which is moving from, say, Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. And it's something which is happening now as we speak, and maybe it's happening in silos. This is something which eventually will lead us to a stage where you will be in charge of content, you as the consumer, right? There will be decentralized trust which will be available. You will not be at the mercy of some big company owning or rather controlling your presence in the internet. So it's a new way to experience internet, and according to me, I feel it's much more immersive. So you can imagine that. So today, for example, if you are seeing a match, an IPL match on your TV, vis-a-vis you experiencing it in an immersive way, and you being in the dugout. So that is one way, right? Another would be that you can experience various installations as if you are present in that particular location, right? And that's the immersiveness that you will get with the AR/VR. But yes, it's a journey which has just begun, and I think it will take another 5 to 7 years to sort of take full shape and come to a fruition.
Hi, good morning. Before I begin, I want to make a small disclaimer. Whatever I express here are purely my personal and nothing to do with my current or previous employers.
that is true for all of us, actually.
Right. So, the idea of Metaverse is way different. I mean, we have not experienced it until now in a way. I would like to experience it. Say, 50 years ago, when computers came, or 60, 70 years ago, when computers came, IBM predicted there's a maximum market for one computer or 5 computers at most in the world. But now we know the reality. Similarly, when internet came, people talked about it's just connecting few computers in the university. It has nothing to do with it. But it has transformed our lives. AI has been there for 70 years. AI and these techniques were there. Today, technology change had an evolution, and it has an evolution curve. And internet kind of gave voice to people who had no voice. Essentially, they had an expression. It could be done through internet. So the content was the king. Essentially, that's how the whole world has come to, and that became then the data became the oil, and data is now the money. All these evolutions are happening one after another. Now imagine all these evolutions come together in one single wave, culminating to this single wave with the web, the internet, the content. That content moved from 2D to 3D. The experience economy, what Ravi talked about in the afternoon, prior to this session. All this together, when they come together as one single wave, how big that wave is going to be. That's Metaverse for us. And that's what we should be ready for as a business. And is the wave coming? And it will take some time, but then the wave has already begun.
Yeah. So hello there. I just wanted to also pick up from what Mr. Gupta did talk about. So these are my personal views, but definitely comes with a lot of research and also some knowledge and experiences working in this space. So I'm Raghu from Mercedes-Benz. To just quickly talk about Metaverse in a very brief understanding. In my simple elementary definition, it's an aggregation of different technologies that comes together, which offers you a very different experience from what has been, what we are used to in the physical world. So one is, it's a convergence of the digital and physical worlds together to offer new experiences. And the other dimension to it is that completely immersive virtual experience that we will have. The AR, VR, mixed reality topics are generally, they are also evolutionary, but then they form one of the most profound, they are one of the most profoundly used words when it synonymous to Metaverse. But these are one of the main components, but not Metaverse themselves, right? And we try to understand and feel the Metaverse through these technologies. However, underneath, there are a multitude of them which work together to really offer us that new experience. Just simply speaking, we are very much used to two-dimensional screens and thereby derive our experiences of the internet. And of course, many other digital interactions that we have. By just adding one additional dimension and making it more interactive and more live interactions with the objects that you have in that three-dimensional space gives you immense benefits in terms of what you could realize as use cases, what you could benefit as humankind, and also what we can set up and evolve as a complete digital-only experience. So I just wanted to summarize, it's an aggregation of technology. One additional dimension opens up a plethora of opportunities, and it's convergence of physical and digital worlds, but also an immersive digital-only world is arising. And this is how I see Metaverse in through my eyes.
Yeah, that's a great insight into what we are going to talk about. Yeah, one thing I want to point out is that Metaverse and Web 3.0 is somehow considered to be a separate. They are not the same entities. So we'll focus more on those things later on. Now, my next question to my panel will be like, you are all leading a different vertical in the industry, right? So once you select, okay, Metaverse is going to be future, Metaverse is real, it's not a hype, right? So the big challenge is to adopt it in some small use cases, right? Or maybe you would like to change some part of your business workflow to Metaverse, right? Or Metaverse enabled kind of workflow. Then only you get a feel that, okay, this is real. Otherwise, it's all hype, right? So most of you must be working with Metaverse or must have seen some of these use cases in your industry. And I would like to start with maybe Ankit, right? Ankit. So, what use cases do you think in your business which can be enabled with Metaverse? Like, how will you think that they can be transformed? And third one is, how do you measure the ROI, which has become like a buzzword or maybe a roadblock for industries to adopt this? Most of the people don't know how to calculate ROI first of all, and how to calculate ROI upfront. Without that, the businesses are generally hesitant to adopt it. What's your take on that?
Thanks, Manish. I think before talking about the way, say, some of the industry, specifically, say, CPG industry, which I belong to, right, the way it will change, important to understand is the fact that, say, around 1989, when this entire web started, right, like what Mr. Gupta talked about, it started by a few scientists for exchange of information. I think the way it has grown over a period of time, looking at various internet platforms, social media. Now, whatever we are seeing in the last couple of years, I think it's a completely transformative, I would say, because the way, say, artificial intelligence is evolving, the way, say, for example, some of these robotics and IoT equipments and systems are getting developed. The way, say, some of these technologies like blockchain is coming up, the way this entire computing power has changed, right? So that is how it is actually changed the entire way the technology interaction will happen in future. I think that's very, very important. And therefore, what I feel is important to look at is to see how you can add value in three ways. First and foremost, how, say, for example, the technology platform which is there, how it can engage with people or consumer at large. That is one. Second part is which is there is how it can be, in a way, very, very driving the enterprise value. I think more looking at from the commerce point of view. It's not only from the entertainment point of view, which we see in some of the gaming and other things, how it can drive more into the enterprise value and the commerce value, right? And third part is more about how it can actually interact and create an experience which is not been seen earlier. So I think these are the three important aspects. And the way I see the CPG industry, which is evolving, and the way it is getting revolutionized, is on aspects related to, say, first and foremost is about, say, brand building, right? Because there are a lot of say, whether you talk about packaged goods or other products which are available, largely I think the person gets attached or get emotionally connected to a particular product is because of the brand. And the way the brand value will change is because of the way, say, some of these technologies can provide a very, very immersive experience. When I'm saying immersive, it's more about, you guys would have heard about the concept of N is equal to 1, when each and every consumer need is being driven. So talking about from customized need of individual to personalized marketing campaign. It can happen that tomorrow each and every individual is seeing a campaign which is completely being developed by AI technologies for an individual per se. So it's not a common you can say a marketing campaign for everyone. So that would be one area. Second area which is there is, as far as brand building is concerned, from looking at loyalty programs to looking at, say, getting into logins, right, where you get into a particular domain or a platform where you connected to some of these brands and product. And the companies who are able to drive this faster are the ones which will actually dictate the way the entire ecosystem will get evolved. So that is on the brand building part. Second area which I see as a part of CPG which is there is more on consumer connect, right? So earlier if you see in this complete aspect, it is very, very difficult to connect with various, connect for the consumer to the products or the other way around, so products to the consumer. But looking at the way, say, these blockchains are getting evolved, looking at the way this AI and other technologies are getting transforming this entire space. So I think that is another area which will completely get evolved together, where consumer will have this complete privacy in terms of that, because of, I think, what one of my colleagues talked about is, I think Mr. Suresh talked about it in terms of the way it is getting decentralized. Right? So therefore, if you see today, the problem is there with privacy because your data is getting, exchange for a lot of other things. Once the moment it is there on the blockchain, which is very, very secure, and it is getting decentralized, you will have a system where you will not so much worry about that data, right? So therefore, you will be able to interact with that platform in a much more efficient way. Right? So that's what I thought was very, very important. And third element which is there is the way the supply chain will get optimized. I think that's the element which is very, very critical for CPG, because it's becoming very, very complex the way the products are getting evolved, new products which are coming. So supply chain entire aspect related to the traceability aspect, because a lot of people, if you see in today's world, are looking at the way the entire journey of the product is being mapped. And when I talk about journey in terms of also looking at the sustainability element, because earlier no one used to so much bother about some of these aspects, but today even the younger generation are becoming very, very particular about this fact, and I think that is what it can actually provide in the long term. And second part, which is more related to, is to look at the way, say, you can actually forecast a particular requirement. So I think this is something which will actually help the supply chain. And last but not the least, what I thought is also important in terms of new product development. So a lot of products are hitting the market. Many times some people hear about it or don't get an understanding about it. But once you are logged into a platform, I think the new product development, the trial, or say collaborative effort in terms of developing a particular product or understanding about it, not only I think for CPG but for other industries as well, will become very, very say efficient and very, very fast. Thanks a lot.
So I come from the travel transportation industry, right? And as an airport operator, it's like a small city there. And when we started our journey of innovation, we thought that there are these 3 objectives or 4 objectives which we have, which is enhancing customer experience, enhancing our efficiencies, enhancing revenues, and of course being sustainable, right? With these 4 pillars, we started our journey, did a lot of platform build and stuff. And during that time, we thought that, if we were to make our whole airport efficient, the land side, the air side, the terminal operations, we need to have common situational awareness to multiple stakeholders. And these stakeholders are like the airport operator, the security, the airlines, all these people, right? I mean, they play a role in how fast the aircraft turns around. There is the big role that the land side plays, which is the traffic movement, the people movement, etc. And inside the airport, we have all the processes that are there. So we were thinking, okay, we'll create a digital twin. And we went ahead, and Terminal 2, of course, has been built with a BIM model, and we have a potential to create a digital twin, and we also are sort of using it now with a lot of real-time awareness being there, right? And you can actually be there, find out a particular equipment going wrong, and take remedial action. So this was just the background, right? In the sense, this is where the whole genesis of our journey in Metaverse started. And this is from 2015 to until 2021. Late 2021, we started to think about, okay, what do we do more, right? I mean, there is so much that we could possibly do. And we were thinking that, all this while we've been thinking about the 4,000-acre airport campus, and that's it, right? Within the boundary walls of the 4,000-acre campus is what we were thinking. So we said, okay, let's think beyond. And that's where we felt that, the Metaverse has the potential for us to bring this whole aviation, I would say, ecosystem onto a different platform where people can experience. So today we have built a Terminal 2, which maybe some people who don't travel to Terminal 2 can still experience it in our BLR Metaport. That was one aspect, right? But as we started to probe a little bit, right, peel the layers of the onion, we found out that there are so many other possibilities. We thought about, there are mandatory trainings which are required for our airport staff. We felt that the most impactful way of providing this training is gamification of this training, and how better can we do it than on the Metaverse, right? And if just think about it, I mean, if you enter a Metaport and if you could see flights landing, taking off, and you would see the whole airport in operation. And if somebody wanted to get familiarization, somebody joins, say, an engineering and maintenance department, wants to find out, okay, where is his, say, power station, and what is that particular equipment. So all this can actually be done in an immersive way using the Metaboard. So this is where our journey started. And then as we broke further, we found out, okay, there are certain commercial opportunities also, which
yes, I was coming to that point. So how do you plan to commercialize this Metaverse? There is the ROI, right?
So my colleague sitting beside me, right? I mean, he can showcase his car. We have a lot of people who actually are on our Metaboard. We've got like 100,000 hits already. We are a pretty young Metaboard, but still so many people come and explore our airport. And like we have, so you must have seen at the airport on the curbside, you would find one or the other new car which has been launched. And people actually barely get to touch and feel it, right? In the Metaverse, we could have the Mercedes-Benz new car, and people can actually experience it, open it, feel the sound of the engine, stuff like that, right? And this is much more immersive. And I can give you an example. So we have an experience center at the lab where these are, I think, people you must have also experienced it. There's a spacewalk, and when you wear the VR set and do the spacewalk, you actually don't want to step 1 inch because you feel that you will actually fall, right? Or be lost in space. And that's the kind of immersive nature of the Metaverse. And this is, I think, a pretty powerful thing. We feel that this, including that we have the gamification, which can be an impactful thing. And from BYJU'S, for example, I mean, how better can you educate? I mean, these trainings which are on site or on ground, these trainings can actually be gamified in such a way that people can go through the whole process in the Metaverse in a much more easier and I would say comfortable way from their home itself, perhaps, right? And I feel that that is something which we feel has great potential. And of course, we have the other parts of the blockchain, which of course Ankit already spoke about, right? The whole supply chain management. I think those are obviously now being adopted in a big way as well. So finally, I feel that this is the new internet and this is the new generation which is going to, which are like, especially post-pandemic, right? I think we find the new generation much more comfortable playing games. And if you can impart education, if you can impart training on Metaboard or Metaverse, I think this is going to be the thing that is going to be the most important one, right?
Yeah. I'll talk about training and education from my part. But first,
when it comes to Metaboard, I think I'm a non-believer in this case. Because, see, the reality industry is built on physical presence. And somebody wants to really feel and touch and see it, then really experience it in the virtual world. Yeah, we have tried sorts of things like AR, VR, name it, we have done it. But the trouble is, sale happens when the person visits the site and sees with his own eyes what is happening. In spite of we give all sorts of high-res pictures, 4K, 8K, nothing happens. This is the reality. That's the reality of the reality.
I understand your reality, but coming from somewhere like from the south of Bangalore to the airport itself is a big challenge, right?
Right. So, but at the same time, I mean, I'm kind of following some of these scenarios. The opportunity, is there an opportunity for Metaboard, I mean, this Metaverse in real world? Yeah, if you look at today, the TAM, essentially total addressable market for Metaboard is about $200 billion, expected to go to something like $5 trillion in 2030. Where is this coming from? Just one example, NVIDIA, which supplies chips for this, itself sales grew 5x in the last 6 years. Like nearly their market cap went 3x. This is like one example, right? Then the companies which are invested in, like Activision deal, made that another eye-raising kind of observations across the industry and ripples across the industry. $69 billion for a gaming company Microsoft invested. What's the game in it? At the same time, Meta itself is investing approximately $10 billion every year. Now, just look at the kind of investment these are drawing. Is kind of raising eyebrows across the industry leaders. Then the last part, the Meta or Meta-based companies have drawn nearly $200 billion of investment from VCs and funds and so on in just last year alone. And that was 2x compared to 2021. And that's more like the beginning of a hockey stick growth. Now that's the reality. Now, this is what I think the industry leaders are kind of talking about. 97% of CEOs who are in the survey about what is the impact of Meta on your industry. They told 97% said we want to try it, we want to do something about it, and out of that 67% of CEOs believed that it's going to transform their industry significantly in the next 5 to 6 years. Now let's understand why are they saying it. Today, the average age of a Meta consumer is about 10 years. Average age, 10 years. They are not in our generation. We are not on Insta, we are not on Facebook, right? Probably some of us are still Facebook.
But
the current scenario is
the consumer age is 10, but the
consumer age
execution people, right? The people who are executing these projects.
Yeah, but the trouble is that the demography is like 10 years is the major. I mean, below 10 years is the major set of people who are consuming meta-based content than the elders. That means by, say, next 10 years, these guys will be Gen Z. They'll have earning potential. But if you ask today some of the kids who are sporting a nice fancy phone, how do you get money? I pay GPay. What's your bank? Oh, Google. They don't understand. Okay, probably these same kids will say, how are you going to order milk? I'll go order in Meta. It will be delivered in my friend door. Right? This is what the industry is shaping this behavior at this age. So next 20 years, the next generation is going to be Meta citizens. That's what we should be ready for, not for, I think we are not fighting for tomorrow, we are not fighting for day after tomorrow, we are fighting for day after tomorrow. That's a meta game.
Alright, yeah.
So, Metaverse is still a hype, but it's getting closer to reality. And there are definitely examples to call out to say how it's getting closer.
So you're saying still it's a hype, right?
It is moving from hype closer to reality, definitely, but it is still a hype because everybody is speaking about it, everybody wants to invest in it, but then how do they get returns on their investment is something they are looking forward. But then, because it's not just one technology, right? It's a multitude of technologies coming together, being orchestrated in a platform, giving new experiences to the customers, and therefore the belief in the future of Metaverse is very bullish. But my views are as follows. There is an industrial metaverse or an enterprise metaverse and a customer-facing metaverse. And the tryout, the industrial metaverse is far ahead today in terms of the realization of use cases and the benefits that it offers to people within the enterprise. So I will take some cues or examples from the product creation process and manufacturing processes. So here if you see, we've had traditionally a lot of three-dimensional product creation happening in the digital space. So which means we have the content always in the virtual environments available for digital engineering. So with the opening up of industrial metaverse and its capabilities, we are able to actually do more in terms of engineering of products in the digital space. So which means our time to market can potentially or significantly reduce if we embrace the technologies and the advantages that are coming in the form of metaverse.
So is that fact proven or you are still, it's a hypothesis that the cycle is time will reduce?
See, it's a very long journey. So if I have to say the first car that we will produce should be the one that we sell to the customer, it's a moonshot. But then there are enough incremental evidences and advances that's happening today which are very convincing to say, yes, we are realizing the benefits. So what used to take 3 months, now it's taking a month. So what used to take X, now it's like X minus 5 weeks.
So you mean that all the top people in your company are convinced that it will reduce the cycle?
So I would reserve that comment. I would reserve that comment because enterprise-facing metaverse, which is primarily I'm talking about industrial metaverse, definitely is the next gradual evolution of the current engineering practices or the digital engineering practices, and that's why I would say it's ahead in the game now, closer to bringing the benefits. While we experiment a lot of technologies and use cases in this space, it gives us enough confidence to actually go more into the consumer facing. Again, on the consumer facing side, there are a couple of things, right? One is trying to bring the physical experiences in the digital world, is one aspect of it. Second is creating a digital-only experience which you will never be able to do in the physical reality. Like for example, what we have, the moonwalk or space experience. So we are not going to have space experience at least in the next 15 years as individuals in our capacities. However, giving that experience and bringing that here and making somebody feel how it could feel like is another. So we are talking about human experiences, right? And here we have enough examples to show that yes, it will help us reach there. But it is getting towards that, but then don't expect a fully physical experience in the digital space. That's not going to happen. However, we will evolve in terms of our thinking to say what is very unique in this space and what are those advantages that we realize. And that's where the real charm of using a customer-facing metaverse will come through.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll just share my perspective from the training and education perspective. Right? So all the industries are picking up this AR, VR that we used to call it earlier, and now the metaverse. Training and education industry has already commercializing these solutions, right? So we have products built in our system which can actually give you some kind of HR training in an immersive environment, which are pretty like AI bound and which are intelligent, right? So the negotiations, tough negotiations like which you need to practice on, like if you want to practice speaking on a stadium, or if you are trying to hold a press conference, those kind of things, right? Which are tough negotiations. So it's very difficult to create a real scenario. So those kind of things we can simulate in this metaverse. We can easily put the person in that perspective and we can see the ROI immediately. Similarly, in the education sectors, things are pretty evolving fast. The companies are generating a lot of content, first of all, because content is finally the king, right? So if you don't have a content which is like made in advance, you'll be catching up to a lot of people, but that catching up may fail at the end of the day. So if you are not building your content now, there is a very slim chance that you will succeed in this, like I said, multi-million opportunity, right? And to that, I'll come to the next question. Like when we say content, right? It's a 3D content, it's virtual content. How does that NFT, non-fungible token, protects us? Because we already have a lot of copyright aspects, we have a lot of DRM solutions inbuilt. Why do we need NFT? Maybe we can start with.
See, I focus more on the industrial space, but then see the unique identifier, the unique proposition that a digital product offers is being identified, and that's how you evolve a non-fungible token, which is an identifier for that, saying that yes, this belongs to X or Y, and this is the uniqueness of this product, and that's why it exists in this space, right? So, which means that becomes a more tradable commodity as things go by. So, it sets the platform for more use case realization. If I say, for example, let me just come more into the automotive industry. That there is a vehicle, and this vehicle is unique in its state.
Yeah, it makes more sense to your business, right? It makes more sense to your business.
You might see 10 cars which look alike, but then not all of them are the same, right? Because they are unique in their own forms. Because we are talking about physical components, yes, they look alike. However, when they come together and then start working, then they have unique properties in terms of experiences that they offer. And that's where the NFTs come into picture. So I'm coming more towards from the downstream part of it. So there are a multitude of suppliers who are there who are actually bringing in their components and technologies that helps us to actually put the piece together to call what's called as a vehicle. So in this space, what happens is that every single component which becomes a traceable commodity comes together to make that one aggregate what we call as a vehicle. So the same thing is also passed on to the manufacturing and beyond that to the entire life cycle. So it changes hands. So as it changes hands, every time there is a transaction that's happening and every time this unique identity is being passed on. And this unique identity also evolves with time because characters do change over time. And that is also recorded, and that's how this whole record keeping ensures the uniqueness of this product. So I'm bringing more the physical form of the NFTs. But of course, there is a complete digital experience also that's embedded seamlessly throughout this journey. Because what we call it the digital twin is that before even this physical product comes into existence, there is a digital product. And this digital product, along with the physical product together, will offer an experience to the customer. And that's how I see both the NFTs playing a significant role in the digital space, also its equivalence in the physical space. But use cases are yet to evolve and the technologies are evolving, but the problem is that still, as I said, Metaverse itself is in the hype cycle, and therefore we are trying to find ways and means on how we really use it in a way that the customer is experiencing that uniqueness. We have examples to call from within so many technology spaces to say how an art with an NFT which was created in a digital space is now being sold for millions of dollars. And those unique characterization is embedded and that's getting sold. It becomes a tradable commodity. And likewise, experiences will also become a tradable commodity, and that's how I see this whole space evolving. But then we are yet to see because our imagination is limiting us to see what is possible, but there will be more to come, and I am truly believing in that.
Alright. So, Mr. Gupta, how do you protect your digital content?
Digital content is, see, one of the biggest thing is it's a virtual world anyways, and the content is not going anywhere. Like in physical space, if you buy a physical property, unless until it is occupied by somebody else, it's there with you, right? That's how ownership is. And
no, there are disputes in physical property.
by the way, that's the most disputed piece of any commodity in the whole earth, right? That's we have challenges there anyways. But that challenges are definitely not there in our the virtual space because of NFT. At least that's there. See, the point is there is no continuum of ownership continuum between physical and the virtual spaces. That it's not there yet. Say if you own something in the physical space, you cannot take it to virtual space, and there's no. If you own something in virtual space, you can't take it to physical space. That's still there. Probably some breakthrough will happen. Say for example, if I buy a car from him, and probably I'll also get to drive a Mercedes in the virtual space too. That probably may happen in future. Or if somebody somebody buys an apartment, probably they can own a 2 BHK also in virtual space. And you could host a party there, probably, right? That may happen, but right now, the market is very, very limited at this point in time. The trouble with NFT at this point, I mean, with the meltdown we are experiencing with the cryptocurrencies, probably the biggest thing that will, there's a little bit of setback, I can say. When the CBDCs take over, the central bank digital currencies like ERP or the true dollar or some stuff like that, when they take over and they become mainstream, probably there will be some sort of continuing between, the ownership between the NFT to the virtual world to the real world. Maybe that's the place we have to watch out for, and that's a potential opportunity for many.
Yeah. So my view is that this the NFT thing has been like in a stage where it's more of a abuse, misuse sort of a situation. Where I think people will buy NFTs for the speculative value.
I think that was the hype cycle of NFTs.
Yeah.
That has gone now.
So I think from that perspective, if you look at it, then obviously it's at the back end. If you don't have the right economic story, that speculation can go bust, and which is precisely what has happened, right? But however, I would like to just give one experience, which is I was reading this newspaper and a couple of days back, and I was reading this lady writing about her think about this transfer of this properties, I'm sure that you would have all got flats registered against you, land registered against you. It's a cumbersome process, and especially when it comes to dependents who are alive, all have to be there in present. I mean, they have to be present in the office. They have to put their fingerprints. So many things are there. And now you think about if you were to tokenize this whole property ecosystem, and then the transfer happens, it is a trustless ecosystem which is working at the back end. The contracts are smart enough so that it cannot be misused, and that's where the power lies for NFT, I would say. And this is going to make our life easy. Otherwise, this lady, she said that it is such a pain to actually think of should we really buy property so that you can leave the property for your kids? Does it make sense in today's world? Certainly not, because it's such a troublesome proposition to transfer the property. Although there may be only the surviving dependents there, but still it is a painful task, which is what would get solved with the token economics that the NFT brings. So this is my view.
Any views?
So I think more important, I think most of the panel members have talked about various aspects related to NFTs. One important thought which was coming to my mind was, if you see the evolution of the human race, I will go back to that, because some of the answers we can get from there, and that's how it is being driven over the various generations which we see. So if you see, individuals have been from before like hunters and gatherers, right? I'll start from there. So that will actually try to help in understanding why, even with say like what some of our panel members were talking about, what is the value we see with some of these say NFTs or non-fungible tokens which are there, is more about people who want to actually collect things which are very, very rare, right? And I think what rightly some of my team members have talked about is people want something which is very, very unique. People want something which is completely only under their possession. If it is something which is being talked about or being, say, owned by someone else, probably you are not so much interested. That happens everywhere in every industry. So that's how it is going to actually continue and propel various economies going forward. At the same time, I think one more important phenomena which will happen, what Mr. Raghuraman was talking about, is the power of digital twin, right? So various things which were earlier there only in the virtual world, what we see now, will become also true in the physical world. So maybe through collaborative effort, you can create, I think not only you can get an NFT, but you can actually collaborate to build certain thing in the physical world, which could actually be customized to your taste, likeliness or behavior or things like that. And then you can actually get it in the physical world, which will be completely unique. And I think that is where it will actually change the entire system altogether. That's what I thought I just shared with you.
Alright, so then we'll be opening questions from the audience. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand, you can ask. We have time. Yeah, please. Please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Question to all three panelists, apart from Suresh, because I work with Suresh.
That's not acceptable.
Probably this question is applicable to him also. While when we talked about more about industrial metaverse, where finally the product goes to the consumer at the end of the day. Similarly, Mr. Gupta, whatever you build goes to the end user at some point in time, and of course, not to speak anything about the CPG, we are all consumers of that, and all these consumers fly to the airport of Mr. Suresh, right? So in each industry, while you say it's hype or it's from hype it's coming to reality, do you have a specific roadmap as an organization saying that this is what we are going to do on the metaverse?
Again, enterprise metaverse is actually a little ahead, and the consumer-facing metaverse will evolve. And to my knowledge, there are plans of at least big corporations, and some of them are already piloting, bringing their platforms in places like Roblox or Decentraland to give that initial experience. So the tryouts are happening, And these are also testimonies to say that yes, there are plans behind, and they are currently testing waters. So consumer facing, I am not able to comment much because a lot of testing of waters is happening, and I believe that there is a lot of plan behind all these efforts that's going on. And if you look at the number of dollars that are getting invested behind in each of these organizations, it makes me believe definitely across the industry there is a lot of betting with a plan behind it, and it will come into existence, is my belief.
Similar boat.
I think I just add a few more perspective to that. So I think we are in I would say, in the age of accelerated discovery, right, where I would say there's no finishing line per se, right. So what you asked is very, very apt. As if you look at it, it's very, very difficult for anyone to have a very clear roadmap, because all these technologies are evolving. What I have seen in the last, say, 7 years, 10 years back, and the way same technologies are there, but their application is completely different, right? So what is more important is to look at as to how any industry or any company has to be on the forefront of this technology adaptation, right? One. Second, also the person has to see as to how these technologies can actually play a very, very critical role in future. And I think that is only possible if you have the power of visualization, right? So that's very, very important. Each and every technology will actually behave in a very, very different way in future, right? It's only depend upon all of you guys who are there as to how you can actually make it alive. And I think that's the most fundamental part of it.
We can take one more question.
So we have genomics, post-genomics era right now. We have 42,000 genes approximately, and about 1 million proteins. And we know the companies like DeepFold, they can predict the folding of the proteins, and 1 million protein fold can be predicted. The question is, in cancer therapy and other genomic-based oncogenomics, we have very specific targets and drugs addressing them. So we have a variety of gene therapies that are coming of age, and cell therapy and gene therapy are coming of age. How does this metaverse help in fundamental science and industrialization of drug discovery? I'm trying to understand that.
Talk about this as a healthcare and say drug discovery. If you see, after the recent Nobel Prize, which you would have heard about, being given to one of the gene scientists, Boda, right? So they have looked at as to how they can do it in the physical space, and they've struggled a lot, I would say, right? Where they've gone through all their literatures and papers as far as the lab research is concerned, right? But if you see the way technology is evolving, all this application of artificial intelligence will come at a very, very, I think you can leverage it to a large extent. Because a lot of things which were driven by iterative trials, with AI it will be very, very, I would say, it will be prescriptive rather, not only predictive, right? So AI will actually help you in terms of looking at how certain, say, the way that entire structure is concerned of the genome, it can be determined, and the way it will completely change. Be able to understand whether this drug will work or not, and it could lead to a lot of risk to the society and the population at large. But nowadays, if you look at, you have the entire digital simulation of the entire human ecosystem, I would say, and therefore once you test it out, you will be at a much more faster, predictable rate of the way the drug will actually act and the way it will behave for an individual. And I think that is how the technology will actually disrupt this entire space as far as possible. Thank you.
Alright, so I think we are out of time now, and thank all the panelists to be here. So if I conclude, right, I can say that sometimes people think it's AI versus Metaverse war which is currently going on. People used to hype AI initially, then Metaverse came to the hype. Now again AI is in the front with the ChatGPT kind of stuff. But if you think like, AI is the brain and the Metaverse is like the body and the soul of what we are trying to get into, right? So until we see, right, we cannot just think. We have to see something. And the Metaverse gives us that power to see and visualize things. With that note, I'd like to conclude this. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thank you.